came together, January of this year, we all came together for an X Summit. And during that time, we had all read the documents, we had all talked to Hickman extensively, but at this time we were figuring out team rosters. Like, we had all these 3x5 note cards, hundreds of them with all the mutants' names, and we were, doing some horse trading and arguing.
So there was a Newsarama article about a little over a week ago where Tini Howard, Ed Brisson, and Ben Percy talked about the Dawn of X in their titles and some of the things that they were going to include. And I really wanted to talk about it. Unfortunately, I had a couple of issues with my family. My sons were sick. But now I'm going to get to it. And with me today is Chase from Gateway into Comics. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, man? Good to see you.
Oh, yeah, it's everything's good. My son's finally home, so we're all happy here, and we can finally talk a little bit more about X-Men. Did you read the article, correct?
Absolutely. I thought it was kind of fun. They were able to joke around a little bit, but it gave us an insight into kind of their minds and what is going on behind the scenes, and I liked that a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice panel, to get the three of them together, and they kind of hit their story arcs one by one. And so let's start with the first one. Tini Howard's Excalibur comes out on Wednesday on New Comic Book Day. What did you think about her thoughts on Excalibur and her direction for the series moving forward?
I was for the very first part, I was very interested with the fact that she talked about Apocalypse being the very first character that she wanted to really put into it. And it was interesting. My favorite part of her dialogue, during their conversation, she was mentioning that how much she basically sent Jonathan Hickman a huge essay, and it was really cute, instead of a log line or whatever. And he was like, could you maybe just tell me what this is about?
Yeah, give me the overview.
That's right. Yeah.
So I thought it was pretty interesting. I'll be frank on this one. Excalibur is the one series I'm the least interested in.
Me too.
Personally.
Yeah.
Just because of the title and the characters aren't as interesting as some of the other ones. And then, once they said Betty Braddock was taking over for her brother as the new Captain Britain, I know that did upset some people. They're like, oh, that doesn't feel right. What did you think about her thoughts about this being a Braddock family book rather than just a Captain Britain book?
Well, the first thing that kind of came to my mind was when, they focused too much on the Bat family instead of Batman. And I automatically don't really care for that. I want it to be more one character centered, to be honest, because I feel like, we can all kind of relate to one protagonist's kind of feel for the universe and their perspective a little bit more than trying to space that out over a huge amount of characters. I always feel like if there's one character in a story, comic books or otherwise, I always relate to it more, regardless of who that character is, So that's my first thought, why I didn't really kind of hone in on it and want to be like really excited about that title,
Yeah, I think whenever you're writing, there should always be a point of view character for the reader to recognize or view the story through their eyes. Like in Star Wars, it's actually C-3PO and R2-D2. They're the ones that are like experiencing the story for you, and interacting with the universe as the new characters who are kind of experiencing the story with you. So I don't know if I imagine Captain Britain is going to be that focal point or that character within Excalibur. But I'm with you. I like the ideas. There's some of the ideas, but I'm certainly still not completely sold on Excalibur. And of course, we're going to see that one this Wednesday, and I'm sure we'll both be reviewing it on our channels.
Oh, for sure. I'll definitely touch on it. One thing she did say that I kind of laughed about, she heard people saying, maybe on Twitter or something, how could you write this character because you're not from Britain? And she was like, well, invite me to your beautiful country and say that to my face. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that is good. I always think the weird idea that, well, if you're not that nationality or that race, then you won't be able to write a true representation of the character.
Right.
That's what's the word? Hogwash.
Right. We're all human, and so we can write humans.
Yeah, men can write can write a female character. A female can write a male character.
That's right.
If you're a talented writer, you're a talented writer. The cream rises to the top, no matter what your race or gender is.
For sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Colorblind. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the second person that was interviewed or talked to, they talked to Ed Brisson about his New Mutants story arc, and I thought that one was pretty interesting too. I figured it was just going to be the New Mutants, but apparently there's a little bit more to the title. And what did you think about Ed's thoughts on New Mutants and on where they're taking that title?
I didn't get too much into his feelings. I did hone in on one thing he said, and that is his adoration for the character Glob, which I find fascinating. I read that whole last Age of X-Men series. I got every issue almost. I dropped some of them, but I continued with a couple of them. And boy, Brisson really does like Glob. And, look, out of that whole series, I think Brisson's was actually the one that was good.
Absolutely. He's a fantastic X-Men writer.
He sure is. Yeah, he really understands the characters, and it's fascinating. I don't care for Glob, but I found myself liking him in Brisson's writing. And so,
he makes him pretty relatable. He's kind of a funny guy. He's kind of awkward.
Yeah. And so I'm picking this up. I have it on the whole line on my pull list instead of just the first issue. So, I'm looking forward to it, honestly. I like how I think he mentioned a few things about how Cannonball and Bobby are really good friends. And, Bobby's like, hey, come check out the island, and that's going to tie into some cool stuff with the Shi'ar Empire. Because that's where Cannonball is up there, and hopefully, that's going to cause a lot of interactions between, space and Earth and beyond,
So what did you think about Brisson talking about these new mutants? They're younger mutants, they've come into their power much more recently than some of the older characters, and they're very excited about Krakoa, and they're wanting to spread the good news. Did you think that was interesting? Because I was like, so they're going to be going off in the galaxy and telling other, you need to come to Krakoa.
Yeah, and I feel like, even though I didn't like the humor in that last book, I feel like, as a team, they're already kind of touching on that. Bobby, he went out to Russia. It was weird, weird humor. He had his chicken wing in his hand, and he was kind of acting funny, kind of it almost felt like a satire of Bobby in a way. But one thing that really did it for me was how at the very beginning of this conversation with these guys in this article, they said how much they're all talking about this over email, over phone, in the boardroom, and how they're consistently touching on what they're going to be doing as a team. And I think that is so important. I think that's what's been missing. Well, one small thing that's been missing from a lot of modern comics that should be tied together is for everyone to be on the same page. So that's something that really touched me about what you were saying, in a place where I was like, I'm a little bit more hopeful about all of this event,
Well, yeah, and we know New Mutants has big plans for it. Jonathan Hickman has said himself, I needed to write a few issues of the opening story arc, the ones going out into the Shi'ar galaxy, because I needed certain things to be executed exactly how I wanted them to backfill into the enormity of the story. So I think it's really interesting. I'm glad Brisson got on this title, because he was the only good X-Men writer Marvel had until House of X and Powers of 10. His Extinction story, I couldn't recommend that one high enough. And his X-Force was pretty good. I remember, I think he had a run on Cable as well. That was also a lot of fun to read. So I think Brisson's going to knock New Mutants out of the park. This is, as far as the characters go, this is my least interested series in Dawn of X, but he was my favorite writer as far as X-Men goes. So mixed feelings on it. I think he's definitely going to make some of the characters really shine. And he specifically said that they're going to concentrate some of their efforts on really growing some of the younger characters that have maybe less memorable power sets, or maybe they haven't been used correctly yet, and really empower them and make them more fleshed out, fully developed characters.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. It kind of like I was saying, Glob isn't really for me, but Brisson made me like him. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm all set. This one's gonna be I feel like it's gonna be a good one.
Absolutely. So the final one was they talked to Ben Percy, who wrote, I believe, the Green Arrow, the first Green Arrow in the Rebirth line. Then he moved on to Nightwing, and now he's moved over to Marvel. And he did an X-Men podcast where it was basically like an audio story that you can get on your podcast. And he's worked a lot with Wolverine, and now he gets Wolverine on his X-Force team. And this is the one that I'm easily the most excited for. What did you? Yeah, what do you think about X-Force?
Oh, I think it's going to be fantastic. I couldn't have been more excited for everything he said about it, not just in this article, but I'm following him on Twitter and kind of paying attention to what he's saying. And man, it looks good because he was mentioning how this is going to be the book where Xavier has to kind of turn his back on the operations, that they're going to be, of course, operating behind the scenes, and it's going to be kind of like the mutant CIA. And I really love that he's going to bring Beast to the forefront as well. And it's going to be Beast making some really difficult decisions that maybe Xavier and Xavier's already acting in such a way where it's like, ooh, that's not very ethical. So what he's talking about is even bringing more of that kind of maybe shady kind of interference again, to the forefront with Beast activities. And I think Beast is a great character to really hone in on that because, well, just his personality type, he's very logical and he's very set in his thinking as well. And so this is going to be really fun.
Yeah, he got really lucky. He got the best characters. You got Jean Grey, you got Beast, you got Wolverine, you got Colossus. They really filled X-Force up with some great characters. And I'm with you. I think the covert branch of the mutants going out there and doing the business that Charles Xavier can't acknowledge that the mutants are actually taken care of, I think is really exciting. And they have the perfect characters for it. And I think Percy's going to be great with this. He talked about he wanted to do like a noir style, dark, gritty universe. And
yes.
We've got our very serious, through line on X-Men and probably New Mutants. We've got our kind of fun, campy book in Marauders. I want that dark, gritty universe. So I think X-Force is going to be great. And I'm assuming that that's going to bleed over into Wolverine as well.
Yes, I since he's writing, isn't he writing both of those titles, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. He's got to tie those together. I can't see him. I cannot see him not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite. Sorry, go ahead.
No, what were you saying?
One of my favorite things he said there at the end is, is it the greatest good for the greatest number of mutants? I feel like that is going to be the theme overall. And that's huge because that explores some serious back and forth social issues that are going on in the world today. Is it the best for the most among us? And that's, again, kind of talking about foreign relations and heck, America, every country, and I think it's great. I hope that they stick to what they're doing right now, which is showing the social issue without trying to tell someone how to feel about it and letting people make up their minds. That's what great storytelling is. And I think Ben Percy is the guy for this job, honestly.
Absolutely. And you can tell that Marvel put more emphasis on this book because Joshua Cassara is the artist, and he's fantastic. As far as I'm concerned, he's the best artist that they put on any of the Dawn of X books, and that
Agreed.
includes X-Men with Lionel Yu. So I think that shows a clear focus on this story, and I think Ben Percy is going to end up being like the breakout star out of Dawn of X personally, because
Me too.
I've always thought he's a good writer. His Nightwing was awesome. But he's been waiting for that vehicle to for that rocket ship to put his name out there that everyone can recognize it. That he's someone that people should be reading, and I think Brian Hill's kind of already there, but he's also going to get a lot of shine from Fallen Angels.
For sure, yeah. I'm looking forward to him, being pushed even further out into the limelight. It's exciting because I'm such a proponent for his career. I just want him to keep on moving forward. Hill's doing wonderful work.
Absolutely. So I think of the three titles of Excalibur, New Mutants, and X-Force, I think we're both still on the fence with Excalibur, but we definitely we bought into what Ed Brisson sold, and we definitely went all in on what Ben Percy sold on X-Force. Is that what your feelings are?
That's absolutely it. Yeah. And it's funny, because you and I hadn't talked about this at all beforehand, but we're right there in agreement about it. So that's funny. Great minds think alike.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This is a great article. Love talking to X-Men with you, and we will talk X-Men very soon, my friend.
Absolutely. Awesome talking with you.
All right, later, bro.
Later.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.